everybody. We're going to get started. Welcome to the Data Science for the Common Good information session. I'm Virginia Partridge. I am the Associate Director of the Center for Data Science. I've been working with the Center for Data Science for 3 years since I was a master's student, and I participated in the Data Science for the Common Good program in 2021. And prior to joining UMass, I was an NLP engineer in industry for about 7 years. So we're going to record this information session. It'll be put up on YouTube later. You can send it to people who aren't here. Please don't worry about the Zoom or anything. The YouTube link will come later. So the goal for today is to just give everyone an overview of the Data Science for the Common Good program. We're going to talk a little bit about upcoming projects that we have planned for the coming summer. We're going to talk about the application process and interview details, and there will be time at the end for question and answer. Please try to keep your questions till the end. There are a couple points during the presentation for areas I know people usually have a lot of questions about that I'll stop and take questions specifically about those topics. But if you can keep the questions to the end, I'd appreciate that just in the interest of time management. Before we get started, anything people want to ask about? Okay. So what is Data Science for the Common Good? So this is a 12-week summer internship program that is hosted here at UMass Amherst on campus. It's open to master's, PhD students in CICS, and this year we're actually also having an undergrad track for the very first time. I'll talk a little more about that later, but undergrads as well. And for the summer, you work with small teams on projects with a public good organization. So this could be a nonprofit, it could be a civic organization, it could be an activist group, some sort of public interest or civically minded organization. And you work with teams managed by CDS staff, including myself, to solve a data science or machine learning project that they have. So this program has been around for, I think, 4 or 5 years, and we've worked with over 20 different partner organizations since 2019, so 5 years. This will be our 5th year. And I think as a student, you might be curious, like, why should I do this? Why should I do data science for the common good when I could do an industry internship instead? So I think the problems that we work on for data science for the common good are pretty technically challenging. I think we pick projects that are really targeted to the coursework we know students are doing at UMass. So we pick them specifically with your cohort, your skills and experience in mind. And in addition to that, you get a lot of direct hands-on work with the partners. So you're not just doing like coding tasks that are assigned to you, which I think I've done industry internships before myself. I've supervised industry internships before myself. Sometimes they're really boring. This is not a boring internship. You get to work directly with the partners, you get to set project goals, you develop your communication skills, your leadership skills. Like, I think this opportunity is way more fun and interesting than most industry internships that are out there. In addition to that, you get the chance to network with professors and partners. We've had a lot of projects that have led to research projects or job opportunities. So I think, you know, there are lots of reasons to consider this instead of an industry internship as a student. And this is all aside from the fact that you're working on a social good project and you're trying to make a difference for a nonprofit group with a public interest in. So why do organizations come to us and want to work with data science for the common good? So a lot of our nonprofit and organizational partners come here because they don't have access to high performance computing. They don't have access to skilled data scientists. They just have a bunch of data that they don't know what to do with. So they get to use your awesome skills and a lot of like software and data science stuff that they wouldn't otherwise have access to at all. These are some of the partners we've worked with in the past. You can see it's a pretty broad range of different organizations. There are some small, like local to the Amherst area groups, like the Pioneer Valley Transit Authority. We've also got sort of the State Department of Health for Massachusetts. But you can see we've also worked with some larger nonprofits like the International Red Cross and the Nature Conservancy, research labs and other universities. So it really runs the gamut. Lots of different kinds of projects and different organizations. I'm gonna highlight some of the projects from past years that I think are really cool and interesting or have been really successful, just to give you an idea of the project's goals. So this first project was with the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, and they were trying to identify where whales were in these images taken from like drones over the ocean. And biologists can actually use, once they locate the whale, they can use these images to determine their size, their health, maybe even migration patterns. And primarily, they would use this tool to identify which whales are caught in fishing nets. And they would actually physically go out and save the whale from being caught in the fishing net. So this is a project from 2021. A project that was very successful from last year, where the project poster was actually accepted to the academic data science annual meeting, and the students got a grant to travel to Texas to present their work. So this is a project that was jointly done with the Computer Vision Lab, and they're actually trying to use weather radar data and identify bird roosts. So turns out weather radar doesn't need to just be used for weather, but you can actually see birds when they fly up from the ground. You can see them on these radars, and so you can use them to track the bird roosts, their health, their migration, and sort of help with like understanding bird ecology and their populations. This is an NLP project from last summer that was working with the Medan Co-Insights group, which studies like social media and conversations online. And they were trying to understand this hashtag Stop Asian Hate, and when it became popular, trying to understand the discourse within the community around that sort of activist group. And there were some cool findings in this project. So we found out that K-pop fan groups were very influential, which leads to a lot more research questions for social scientists. And we were able to identify some sort of news events around racism, especially in Thailand, that the researchers hadn't been aware of before. And this work became a conference poster at the Texas Data Conference here at UMass last year. So those are some examples of projects in the past. These images are taken directly from the students' final posters at the end of the summer. So if you were to participate in the program, this is the kind of stuff you would be doing. So I'm going to now shift over to present projects that we have planned for the coming summer. We have 4 projects planned right now, with our goal of having 2 graduate students and 1 undergrad on each project team. So a total of 12 students, 8 graduate students, master's or PhD, and 4 undergrads. So the first potential project is with Media Cloud, which is an open source media and social media analysis tool. We don't have a specific task picked out for this project yet, but we've worked with them with Media Cloud for 3 years now. They're a great partner. They have tons of interesting data on journalism and social media, and like lots of different questions that they want to answer about, you know, what's going on in the news, how can we better support journalism across different languages and different cultural contexts. So they're a great partner, and the kinds of skills we're looking for this project are natural language processing, data engineering, information retrieval, exposure to computational social science, and statistics and data analysis. Our second project is a computer vision project with this organization called ICAST. And ICAST works with communities to help them make sure their infrastructure is affordable and sustainable, so that you have access to housing that, you know, is resilient to climate change. Your heating and cooling isn't gonna cost you, you know, your entire wages, if it gets really hot, but also that it's environmentally sustainable. So they have pictures from houses of different communities, and they want to actually use the photographs to identify what kinds of heating and cooling systems are in use. So this is primarily a computer vision project with some data engineering and statistics and data analysis involved. Our third project is with iNaturalist, and they have these geographical models that help predict where species live, and anywhere in the world, like a particular type of bird or a particular animal. You want to know where is their geographic range, and biologists and ecologists study this. It's also important for citizen scientists. And we have a neural network model that does this, but right now that model is very difficult for biologists to use. It's not deployed anywhere for people who aren't computer scientists to access. So we'd like to explore different ways to deploy these models, maybe in a phone app, but obviously that has challenges because you're deploying a neural network on a phone app. That is a pretty challenging engineering problem. Or maybe we can build a nice like dashboard tool for the biologists. So this project will have a lot of design and front-end skills involved in it, maybe some data visualization. So being able to understand human-computer interaction will be important for this project. And our last project this summer is also a computer vision project. It's going to be with the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, which, contrary to the way it sounds, is actually its own nonprofit and isn't really affiliated with Cornell. But they want to build a prototype for Nest cams. So if you've ever seen the Nest cam on top of the library, there's a Nest cam there that points at the falcon nests on the library, and you can actually see the baby birds in the nest. They want to create a way to analyze the video output of those kinds of cameras. So answering questions like, how long do the parents sit on the nest each day? You know, how frequently do the baby birds get fed every day? That sort of thing. So it'll involve analyzing the video using computer vision techniques, figuring out ways to classify the different bird behaviors, and also analyzing the final results, hopefully. Any questions on the upcoming projects? All right, so what does the summer day-to-day look like for students who participate in the program? So we have training sessions that happen throughout the summer. We also have invited talks for speakers who work on data science. So the types of things we have had in the past is training on agile development, especially for data science, ethics in doing data science work. Last year we had Adam Holmes, who's the assistant director of the W.E.B. Du Bois Center from the library. So the library is named after W.E.B. Du Bois, who is this pioneering data scientist who did a lot of work in the early 1900s. We're hoping to bring Adam back because it was an awesome talk. And all the participants really enjoyed it. And we're probably going to add to that list as well. We try to switch things up each summer, keep it interesting for both staff and students. So a lot of really exciting activities planned that will help you grow as a data scientist. When you're working on your projects, what we are really looking for in participants is basically creativity, willingness to put forth effort, and good communication skills. So a lot of the data, this isn't data you get in your classroom work where it's all clean and nice and pretty for you. You don't know what's in the data a lot of time. You have to put in effort and figure it out. You need to establish what you're actually going to measure in the task. All this critical thinking stuff, like that's really important for the summer program. You'll also need to communicate both with your team lead and your team members, but also the partners. So, and remember, a lot of our partners are not computer scientists. You have to figure out how to use their expertise because they are domain experts, while also explaining the technical computer science stuff in a way that they can understand. So your team leads are there to help with this. They are acting as sort of scrum masters within agile development to help coordinate good communication practices with the partners. You'll have demo meetings, at frequent intervals throughout the summer, and there will also be daily stand-up meetings. But the team lead is really there to support you and not do the work for you. So they're a technical guide, but you'll be doing most of the coding work, probably all the coding work, and even sort of figuring out the technical trade-offs throughout the project. So this isn't a full-time internship. It's 24 hours a week for those 12 weeks of the summer. And as I mentioned before, so each project is going to be 2 graduate students and 1 undergraduate with a dedicated staff team lead. We'll have dedicated workspaces on campus that are booked and available to only the DS4CG participants. And we will have in-person trainings and meetings at least once a week. So this has to be in person on campus. Be doing the whole thing remote is not an option. You might be able to do hybrid work like a few times a week, depending on your team lead. That's not guaranteed. It's up to your team lead. So full-time remote, not allowed. Hybrid, maybe. Okay, any questions on, yeah.
Sorry, was there any particular reason why full remote was not allowed?
We have in-person trainings and a small staff. So trying to run a hybrid program is a lot more work for staff. We can't maintain that. So if you're a graduate student, so you are either entering the master's program in the fall and you're doing the 5-year program, or you're a current master's student or PhD student, you'll get paid $32.66 an hour. And you're also, this opportunity is covered under the GEO contract. It's a little bit weird, but basically what that means is you get your health insurance cost waived in the fall semester. So the fall after data science for the common good. The tricky thing is that if you do data science for the common good, if you're a master's student, this only applies for master's students, you can't be a grader or a TA during the rest of the academic year. I wish this wasn't the case, but it has a lot to do with the student union contracts and it's kind of out of my control. So that's the way it is. I'm sorry, I know it sucks. Any questions on this stuff?
You've already taken the gradership.
No, it's for the next year after data science for the common. Any other questions? Okay. If you're an undergraduate student, the pay rate is $18 an hour. We're going to have 1 on each project. Undergraduate applicants are considered on a separate track from graduate students. So if you're an undergrad, you're not going to be compared to master's students or PhD students. You're just going to be compared to other undergrads. This is our first year doing this. It's a little bit of an experiment. But I think we have had some undergrads do the program in the past. It works out really well. I don't really have any concerns about it, but just being upfront, it's our first year doing this. So if you have a lot of questions about how it works as an undergrad, I probably can't answer that. Okay.
I do have a question.
Yes.
For the undergrad section, will the housing be provided throughout the summer?
All right. Application process. You can apply online. There's a Google form. We want to know your background, what courses you've taken, how long you've worked with different technologies. There are 4 short answer questions. They are short, but they are very important. I will talk about them more later. You also need to upload your resume and CV. So we review applications on a rolling basis. I get a lot of questions about this, so I'm gonna spend a lot of time about it, and I really want you to ask your questions about this now. So what does rolling application mean? This means that you submit your resume. Within a week, the Center for Data Science team will look at your resume. I promise, we will look. That does not mean that you will get an invitation to interview right away. What it means is that we have looked and understood your skill sets and your interests. Now, the Center for Data Science team has to build 4 project teams from 100 students who applied. We have to make sure the teams are well balanced, that we have varying levels of experience on the team, that we have people who can mentor younger, less experienced team members. We also need to make sure that each skill that's required for the project is covered, and that each project has team members with complementary skill sets. This is very complicated and hard. We do our best and we try to build really good, successful teams. So what might happen is that one week we're focused on hiring, for example, undergrads. And the next week we're focused on hiring, for example, computer vision people. So because of the way we do this process, you might not get invited to interview like the week that we looked at your resume. We do try to do this process very quickly. We understand that people are trying to apply for other internships and make plans for the summer. But the fact of the matter is, this is hard, it takes time, we have a small team. So if you haven't heard back from us yet, please don't worry, you're still being considered. Don't panic, but like, you should also still be looking for other opportunities and trying to figure out your summer plans. Any questions on that part, especially the rolling application process? Okay, who's gonna email me asking me their application status right after this? Please, no hands. Okay, great. Yes,
You guys see before?
what?
You guys see before?
No.
On the website, it says that it's on a rolling basis and something about also depending on project groups are like kind of complete. So will that be like a notified thing? Because I see the deadline is like March 29th. So during that time,
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a second, but once we have filled up all the positions for the summer, we'll send an email out to everyone. So everyone's gonna get notified. It just might not be till April. Yes.
Yeah, for international master students, does this come under the CPT?
That's a good question. I don't think it does because it's on campus, but please email me about that and I'll follow up. I can get that information for you. Yes.
What style of interview are we talking about?
I'll talk about that in a second. Yes.
Yeah, so responses for the form are editable. So if I edit my answers, will it be considered again or?
I really discourage you from doing that because we probably have already read your answer. And if everyone does that, we can't go back and read all 100 applications again. So please try and make sure that your application is like, you're happy with it when you hit submit. We might notice it, but I can't guarantee that.
What is going on? So in the form I filled that I'm going to take on course, but I'm going to drop the forms. So
I mean, like I just said, like, try to make sure it's as accurate as possible. We understand stuff happens. There's no guarantee we're gonna notice it.
For the undergrads as well, is it 24 hours a week?
Yes.
Okay.
Any more questions on the application process? Okay, so if you do an interview, you can either choose whether to do it remote or in person. So one of our staff members will email you. They'll ask you, how do you want to do the interview? You'll schedule the interview. I'll talk a little more about the interview in the next couple slides. You will receive a decision, like whether or not you're gonna get an offer within 2 weeks of the interview. And then you'll need to sign the offer letter, return it to us within 2 weeks. Any questions on that? Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the application. What can you do to make sure your application is strong? What we're usually looking for is depth of technical ability in at least one project critical area. So I already showed you what the project critical areas were for each project. We need people to have experience in at least one of those areas in order to, be successful in the project. If you don't have the skills, you can't do the work. And that can be from coursework, it can be from independent projects, it can be from work experience. We're pretty generous on what we consider to be project experience. I think for most people, it usually comes from coursework unless you've had a lot of work experience before coming to UMass. You also need to demonstrate that you can work on a team with minimal oversight. So that you're gonna work well with other team members, that you know how to set goals and be organized. There is a free response question that specifically targets that. That's where you can showcase that skill. Teamwork, communication, leadership skills. Again, these are really important for these projects. But we don't really care how you gain those leadership skills. If you were the captain of the varsity cross-country team here at UMass, that's leadership skills, show that off. We wanna just see that you can work well on a team. So please highlight that in your application, use those free response questions, use your resume, please show off who you are and what you can do. We also really want to see that you have thoughtful responses about problems that face your community and show creative and critical thinking about how to apply data science. So especially, these are our free response questions. Please put time and effort into them. Think about them, be creative. We want to make sure that you can deliver creative solutions to the data science partners we work with, that you understand what nonprofit groups care about, and that you have put time and effort into thinking about that. So these are all free response questions, resume. Please put effort and time into those. I really strongly recommend that people have someone else read over your free responses and look over your resume. We're not looking for like perfectly written journalist quality free responses, but if your answer doesn't really address the question that's being asked, or is really short, or is confusing to us, like that isn't going to be a good application. Just have someone else look it over. You have careers, you have the writing center, you have friends who are good writers that you trust. Have someone look it over and make sure you're answering the questions that are being asked in the resume. Or in the free response questions. Also have someone look at your resume. Okay, interviewing. What's the interview format? It's 30 minutes with 2 Center for Data Science staff members. Like I said, you can be in person at our office or remote over Zoom. During this interview, we will ask you to explain a data science project you've worked on in depth and answer questions about your approach. This is the most technical portion of the interview. So it's a project that you have done that you should be able to know inside and out. There's not going to be any coding or anything. Like, you are all CI/CS students. We trust that you can program. We are also going to ask you questions about your career goals, your collaboration style, what kinds of roles you filled on previous teams you were on. So those address more of the leadership and soft skills and communication skills. Anything on your resume or in your free responses is fair game. So like, don't pad your resume. If you do, we might ask about something you're not prepared to answer. Again, like I said before, you will receive a final decision within 2 weeks of the interview. Any questions about the interview process? Just to give you an idea of what the application and interview process was in past years. So in 2023, we had over 126 applicants. Most of them were master's students. We had a handful of PhD students and people from other programs, so that includes undergrads or and other engineering majors. We did 25 interviews and we selected 13 students. 11 of them were master's students and 2 of them were PhD students. In 2022, we had 109 applicants. Again, similarly, like almost all of them were master's students. We had 32 interviews. We selected 14 students, 11 master's students, 2 PhD, 1 undergrad. Again, this year, we have a special track for undergrads. We will take 4 undergrads. So undergrads will be considered separately. Okay, these are I just want to run through some questions that I've gotten a lot in the past. Like I said before, so we can't reply to all these questions about application status. If you apply, we've looked at your resume within a week. And once we've filled all the positions, we'll notify everybody. Again, like I said before, please rely on your resources to have somebody look over your application. If you haven't used them before, again, they're linked here. We get a lot of requests about people wanting to volunteer for a data science for the common good instead of doing the paid internship. We are open to this, but everyone goes through the same application process. So this only applies if you have like a special visa or work restriction where you can't get paid to work in the US. Everyone else, we do want to pay you. And so if you want to volunteer, just reach out to me, let me know the details of your situation. I can tell you if it applies or not, but you still have to apply like everyone else. I want to be clear about this is a pretty competitive program. We love the UMass students. Like UMass CICS students are amazing. I wish I could hire every single one of you because you all rock. And I know this because I get to interview like 30 of you every year preparing for this program. So I've met a lot of CICS students. I know you're all passionate and amazing, but the fact of the matter is we have 12 positions and over 100 students applying. So a lot of really awesome, talented, skilled, qualified people are just not going to get the offer. So you should be applying for other internships. You should be looking at other opportunities for the summer. But please be honest with us if you are considering a different offer. We have had students renege on offers in the past. It looks really bad for you. It also, if you're reneging on an offer from an industry internship, it makes UMass look bad. And that can hurt the chances for other UMass students to getting hired at that company. So please don't do this. Careers has guidelines around this and we are in touch with them. So we do know what, people are applying to other opportunities if you're doing so through careers. So please don't do this. Just be honest with us. Tell us, hey, I have another deadline coming up. Can you expedite the decision? And we'll do our best to do that. There's our email about the program. Reach out to that if you have specific questions. Here is the timeline. I'll leave this up so people can just see that again. And I will take questions.
What are some of the challenges past participants have pointed out at the end of the program, like things they had to learn that they might not have gotten in class or in internships?
I think the biggest challenge is just the short period of time, like 12 weeks sounds like a lot at the beginning of the summer, but it's really not a lot when you're only working part-time. And like I said, the projects are pretty challenging. So I think usually most projects get into a time crunch at the end. But I feel like, we still deliver. There have been very few projects where I felt like we haven't delivered something valuable to the partner. Most partners want to come back and work with us again. So I think we have a pretty high success rate for the program. Yes.
What sort of prerequisites are you looking for in undergrad students?
Undergrads, we understand that you're not going to have like a lot of work experience. So what we like to see are those teamwork, like be thoughtful on the teamwork questions. Because you do have plenty of opportunities to have done teamwork stuff. You can play up your extracurriculars. We like to see undergrads like being especially passionate about, especially stuff that might be related to the projects. I think those are probably the biggest things. If you have coursework that's relevant to machine learning or data science, definitely include that. It certainly does help, but we're not necessarily expecting every undergrad to have taken like the 589 machine learning class or anything like that.
Why is it part-time? Because since it's in person, it could be.
Yep. Graduate Student Union and administration do not agree on things. Like I said, I wish I could change that. Talk to the Graduate Student Union. It's out of my control. Yes.
You mentioned there will be 2 master students and 1 undergrad. I was wondering, because one of the master students will probably be the team leader, how will be teams managed, and like if there's a problem, who should we take it up with?
Yep. So it's actually 2 graduate students, so it could be PhD students, and the team lead is the CDS staff. So they are the team lead. They're also your supervisor and your mentor. You should go to them with problems. They also will manage, they'll set up team meetings. You have daily stand-ups with them. They're taking all the management of the team. Yes.
So if there's like about 14 graduate students and there's 2 per project, does that mean there's 7 projects?
There's 8 graduate students. We have 4 projects,
Okay.
2 graduate students on 8, so 8 graduate, or 2 graduate students on each, so 8 graduate students. 12 students total.
And are those like 4 different staff members?
No, it'll probably be, we haven't like fully decided yet. I'll probably be the team lead on 2 projects. And we have another staff member who is a computer vision expert. You will probably do the computer vision.
So there's 2 staff members?
Yeah. Let me go back.
Or likely, sorry.
We've got. We've got 1 NLP project. I'm gonna do that one. Computer vision project, so that's my colleague. This is a neural networks, machine learning, data viz. I'm probably gonna do this one. And my colleague is gonna do the other computer vision project.
Do we know who the other?
Yes. This isn't set in stone, like we might bring on, sometimes we interview a PhD student who's really awesome and we're like, you're gonna be the project lead. But probably it's gonna be staff. Okay, any more questions? Yes.
How the workload look like for an undergraduate student, if you're not expecting too much expertise?
Again, like I said, this is the first year we're gonna do it with undergrads. What I imagine will happen, I don't know, it probably depends on the team and the project and how skilled the undergrad is. But I imagine undergrads will be taking more of like code documentation, testing, maybe like helping with the partners to understand the project outcomes more. But again, this is the first year we're taking on undergrads for every project, so I can't say for sure. Any more questions? Okay, if you have like specific questions about your situation, I have 15 minutes to answer those. You can come up and talk to me. Otherwise, good luck. I look forward to meeting you all during interviews and application process. It's like my favorite part of my job, meeting all of you guys. You're all delightful. Like I said, I love the UMass grad students. They're awesome. So yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Later.
Sorry.
Working.
So